We now move on to our very interesting fireside chat, aligning purpose with practice, CSR and due diligence. I would like to welcome our moderator and panelists to the days. Our moderator for the session, Miranda, Chairperson and co-founder, Indian School of Public Policy and Chairperson CORO India. Our esteemed panel members, Dr. Anand, Advisor to CM, Government of Maharashtra, Jayant Rastogi, Global CEO, Magic Bus India Foundation. Give us a round of applause, please. Over to you, Mr. Miranda.
Okay. Thank you, Shruti. I don't normally attend a lot of conferences, but when Rajiv and Aloka sort of were behind this, I couldn't say no, former colleagues. And I get a chance to hear Dr. Chatterjee talk about this was, I think, an eye-opening opportunity. And actually, the program that Shruti and Stina put together, I think, has been a fantastic one. I'm seeing this room so full. But before I continue, I need to just call out one partner over here of ours, because one of the comments made was companies don't give money to remote parts of the country. And there's one company that we have, two organizations my wife and I are involved with, 17,000 Feet Foundation and Sunbird Trust. I have to call out Access for that. Thank you. They've been supporting us right for I think about 10 years or so, and it's actually been fabulous because we don't know why they did it, but they possibly done it for some reason. But it's that because that's the way to get money out to remote parts of the country. People ask us, why do we give money out there? I said because no one cares, and that's really it. So that's been a fascinating, and just hearing that story of CSR and how it evolved has been a fabulous experience. Okay, now given the time that we have, how much time do we have? Yeah, we're running behind schedule, so let us know. Because otherwise we'll talk forever here. 40 minutes? Okay, that's fine. So I've known Jayant and Anand for a long time, so it's like being with friends over here and literally a fireside. And I think it's so cold in this room, fire would help actually, if we had some fire here. So okay, let me sort of talk, since we kick off with the CSR aspect. And Jayant, you've been involved now for 9 years, nearly as long as the CSR agenda over here. What would you say to corporate leaders in this room about what they should do on CSR to be both compliant and transformative?
Okay, let me just start with actually when we look at compliance, we're looking at ticking boxes or, avoiding penalties. Transformation, like I think Aloka said, it's about basically, aligning the core to your, I would kind of, look at, when a corporate is kind of looking at a CSR, what should they look at? See, one is I think they should encourage grassroots organizations, definitely, but then the issue is about diligence. Second, also I think they should look at that it is not passion which kind of, drives decision making. I think it should also be process which is there. When I have a kind of, a tick box of, what is it that, a corporate kind of looks at when it's kind of talking about it. So one is, it should look at results which are, measurable evidence about an NGO. It is also, I think, the process, I call it my 4 Ps actually, so which is about people. When you institutionalize an organization, you talk about the 4 Ps, which is, you need really aligned good people in the NGO to deliver, Here people are working for passion, so that is one. The second I call about, the program and the impact. So if your program should have the highest impact, you have to be accountable as an NGO. So that is why the measurable evidence. The third part I would kind of talk about is about, our processes, because that helps you build scalability, getting good auditors, respectable auditors, maybe, the big four, if you can afford it, or somebody else. We have KPMG and PwC as our external and internal auditors. And the last, I would say, are your funder partners. What are they saying? So you have to look at, these 4 Ps and then so that is one of it. The second thing which I would actually talk about is technology. It brings in great amount of transparency and accountability. So look at it, is the NGO really deploying it? Many NGOs have started on the journey, and I think it's an important point that, we look at what are the evaluation methodologies, is the outcome really clean and clear? And I would say that, some of the corporate partners look at communications, so look at it whether your NGO has a good communication team. And I know a lot of small ones don't have it. And lastly, I would say that, when you're looking at your corporate partner for transformation, you should look at Viksit Bharat aligning. We heard Dr. Chatterjee talk about, most of the money coming to the developed states rather than, the marginalized, looking at, getting into, the Northeast or some of those states like Chhattisgarh. And I think it's about Viksit Bharat. So I think if the corporates align, I think I'm sure we'll get there much faster. So.
Well, I must also say, Aloka, when I was hearing you articulate what you were saying earlier up over here, I was wondering whether I was in a CSR conclave or whether I was in a private equity or a forex discussion, because you talked about risk, you talked about due diligence, you talked about knowing your customer, and and you said something very interesting, because this is what happens in private equity, where I spent a lot of my past life in, is not so much about, you spend a lot of time diligencing who you give money to, but the people receiving the money don't diligence enough on who they're taking the money from. And quite often, when you have a wrong private equity investor in your business, they can destroy your business. Similarly, if you have a wrong CSR partner over here in your NGO, you can destroy your NGO, especially if they were sort of to drive you nuts. So knowing your donor is such an important part that message, I think, has to be given out a lot more, and that negotiation advantage that you talked about. So like, it was interesting. I mean, these parts of risk, a lot of NGOs, because my wife and I are involved in a lot of organizations, they don't spend enough time looking at that risk part of it. Yeah. We just take money from whoever we can, forget about mission drift, forget about everything else. Take it when it comes. So Anand, I've known you now for a long time, and I've seen you in different hats. You actually wear 3 very interesting hats over the years. First time I met you were in Tata Trust as a donor, in a way. Then I met you in the government as a sort of government partner. And then I met you at your home base in Gadchiroli and seen the work that you and your family do over there. So you've seen this, how the ability to work across different parts or components of this industry. What advice would you give both to CSR partners as well as to NGOs in the room about engaging with the government?
Thank you. You clarified, because sometimes it can be schizophrenic when one has 3 different hats as to which identity one is using while sharing something. But my primary identity remains that of a small civil society organization from a district, Gadchiroli, the exact opposite corner of Maharashtra. Second, yes, philanthropy. Third, a apolitical, bureaucratic lateral entrant with a youngish chief minister, youngish from the Indian standards. Now, 3-4 thoughts would come to mind. One is the engagement with the government. But frankly, there is no one entity called government. There are bureaucrats, there are political leaders, there are district level entities, there are mantralaya level entities, there are OSDs and PS. So I think the engagement of most of the CSR and even civil society is unfortunately only with the bureaucrats in the government. And I find that quite Brahminical in a different way. We are professionals, white collar, so we like to engage with supposedly other professionals there. We stay within our comfort zone. And is it truly democracy? Do bureaucrats truly represent India's democracy? We may have a Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, But we have others whom Nandan Nilekani describes are the masters of 3 laws of bureaucratic evasion. Number 1, this is not needed. Number 2, this has already been done. Number 3, this is the job of some other department. So those who truly burn with that fire identify that in that non-homogeneous entity called government, engaging with them is, I think, the first key learning of mine has been. Number 2, Dr. Carl Taylor, who wrote the Alma Ata Declaration of Health for All, one of the most momentous human rights statement, if one has to say, not only health in the history of mankind. While teaching in Hopkins, he used to say that public health professionals are like children with a key in their hand, trying to fit that key into a lock. All of us professionals are exactly like that. We have a revolutionary solution. We are only waiting for the problem. We must begin with the problem and accordingly design the solution. When Stalin's Iron Curtain had enveloped the Eastern Europe, Bracht said, quite cynically of course, this government is excellent. The people are bad. We must get the people changed. Are we similar? Our solutions are amazing. The people are idiot. The problems are stupid. Let us get the problem changed. So begin with the problem and then only go for the solution. Otherwise, as doctors sarcastically say, operation was successful, patient dead. So that, I would say, the second lesson. Number 3, then how do you find the problem? Ronald Ross, British malariologist, he was working in JJ Medical College, by the way, and there is a building there which my dream is to preserve as a monument of Indian public health. And he had an inkling that there is some association between malaria and mosquito. But what exactly was it? He was unable to figure out. So he went back to London. He was walking on the streets of London with his mentor, Dr. Patrick Manson, the father of tropical medicine. And he asked Dr. Manson, I am perplexed. What is the relationship? I am trying to find it out. Dr. Manson made a prophetic statement. My son, if you want to do research on mosquito, learn to think like a mosquito. So we must learn to think exactly like that mosquito or that water body or that farmer, and that can come, I understand, from empathy. See, in Indian philosophy, there is an existential question. And all of us, sometime, if we are lucky, face the question. The question is, koham, who am I? Now, in a sense, though, this question can also be a selfish question. It is only journey into self. Maybe the true question is, the right question is, whose am I? For whom do I exist? What is the purpose of my life? Beyond, of course, the closest circle of family and friends, that who am I think that finding out gives us the empathy to find out the ability to find the true problem. And finally, we in health apply this 5 criteria when we select a priority. And the same method can be applied based on different topics. The 5 criteria are whether science has any solution for this problem, number 1. Number 2, what is the burden in the society of that problem? Number 3, what is the seriousness or severity of a disease or of a problem? Number 4, do people consider this as a priority? And number 5, cost effectiveness of the solution. So I think for us, whether for finding problem for us or engaging with the government, a framework of identifying problems accordingly might be a good way to engage with the government.
So I want to take this thought with you, this is the last point you mentioned about looking at what the problems to be solved. And I want you to go back to the fabulous story of when your parents started off. And they had certain ideas as to what the community needed. And then I remember the story of what they learned when the actual community wanted something different. Could you share that? Because that's an important thing to understand. What is the intervention required? And that to me, when I went and spent time with Anand's parents, was understanding what we want to do. Because we all come in saying this is the problem that we have. And even I started a public policy school. And one of our aims is to bring back the public into public policy, as opposed to people sitting in an ivory tower deciding what's required. It's really the people who should be deciding the agenda. So we'd like to hear that story which you have, which your parents came across many, many decades ago.
So 1986, my father was the first physician in Gadchiroli district. So he was sitting in OPD, a girl comes into the OPD, a tribal girl. Abdomen was distended, she was completely anemic. Father, good physician, he suspected something, he got the blood tested. The blood showed the classical sickle-shaped red blood cells. Extremely excited. We found a case of sickle cell. Doctors, when they find a unique disease, are like children with a Lego toy in their hand. Very excited, my goodness, sickle cell. And then we did a district sample survey and then identified this is the burden of 12% of the population has sickle gene, 8,800 cases of sickle cell in the district. And we published that. The Health Minister of Maharashtra, Bombay, came down to Gadchiroli, patted the back of a civil society, 2 young doctors, and declared that this is amazing. And the government of Maharashtra will now set up a center for tribal health. Again, we were overjoyed. Within 1 year, we have achieved this new center for tribal health. And 1 month after the news comes, yes, government of Maharashtra did issue a GR on tribal health center to be established in Pune. Now, tribal in Gadchiroli, sickle cell in Gadchiroli, and center in Pune. Because of course nobody wants to go to Gadchiroli, the Kala Pani of Maharashtra. So we are furious, a question of human injustice. So we went to tribal people saying that, we must act against this, we must have an agitation against this. People flatly refused. They said, doctor, you came like a guest to our village and our family, asking for a drop of blood. Who says no to a guest in India? We gave you a drop of blood. Had we ever complained to you about sickle cell? No. This is your disease. This is your problem. That center is yours. Don't trouble us with this nonsense. Flatly refused. That was a slap. We learned that we must focus on people's problem and not the remote scientific community or professional communities. We report to a simple, short, another story, how people perceive differently. My mother, a gynecologist.
Tell us about what are the problems that they actually wanted help.
True. So a simple problem, for example, the women, my mother, a gynecologist, performed the first cesarean section in Gadchiroli district. She asked the women of Gadchiroli, tribal and rural, tell us your 10 most important problems and then rank them in the priority. Which are the most important? So women listed 10 problems and then ranked them. 1986, mind you. Women ranked, very interestingly, obstructed delivery and infertility as the number 1 problem. Now, for any medical professional, this was surprising. Obstructed delivery in a 400 kilometers long distance district with only bullock carts as the mean of transport would mean certain death for the mother and the baby. Hence, one can understand women voicing that as one of their most important problems. Why infertility? No one dies because of infertility. So my mother asked them. Women gave a beautiful answer. They said, Madam, if a woman has obstructed delivery, she dies once. If she is suffering from infertility in that village or in the city as well, she dies daily. do we have a single national program on infertility? People raised spine and joint health as one of their most important problems. How important? 40,000 man days lost every year because of spine and joint pain. 200 crore is the annual loss to economy by people living on agrarian wages because of this. 40% people lose or have to stop work because of spine and joint pain. Do we have that as a national priority? So the cynical answer sometimes is, if you don't die of a disease, that doesn't become a national priority. So the learning was this. So that's why we started what we call a tribal health assembly. Let people come and vote their issues. Women voted. Till the 90s, till the 80s, end of 80s, the entire globally, women's health meant only one thing: family planning. Again, a discourse created by the West as to the demographic disaster, as if the only problem facing the entire country. And how to stop this? Women as a biological machine, so family planning. When women were asked and studied, it was found that 92% women in the rural community had gynecological problem. Only 3% had ever sought or received any medical care, and that changed the global discourse of women's care. That led to a conversation from family planning to maternal health to reproductive child health. So the learning was identify a problem which people believe as important, use the power of research, and shape policy and agenda accordingly.
Thank you. Jayant, you mentioned earlier about due diligence, technology, etc. So two parts to this question. One, could you give us some examples about how due diligence done rigorously actually unlocks more capital for organizations? And secondly, what role does data, digital technology, etc. play in shaping due diligence in CSR?
Great question. So, I think what Anand said was really interesting, and to catch up with him is going to be difficult, right? So powerful. So anyway, so let me just start with something which is, I'll start with a personal example, which is about Magic Bus. I joined many years back, and now I can talk about it publicly. So, see, what happens is the intent for NGOs is very honest, right? At the head office, they might want things to be done in a particular way. So when I joined, I had very little understanding of the sector, and I asked my guys that, the attendance should be around 85% minimum, the session regularity should be there, and, et cetera. And very soon, all these numbers started happening across all the regions. We started getting these numbers. And, it's too good to be true, then it is actually too good to be true. So I made a surprise visit to a place, Palghar, just on the outskirts of Mumbai, a RCT project. We had very little money in those days, so you put in your best resources in RCT project, as you know, right? And we went there. When I went there, so I realized that there was no program which had happened. The school did not know us. The community did not know us. And that was a real big slap on the face that, I don't know how many such programs are running. So we decided that what we will do is we will actually bring in technology, that time extremely frugal technology, which is on the ground, which is actually capturing attendance. So we came out with a simple GPS date and time stamp, and we took the attendance before and after the session, which was not too expensive. And that started changing. Slowly, very soon, we started seeing that, the program evidence improved, the impact improved. It was a huge change management within, because many people in the organization did not want us to kind of, implement it for obvious reasons. But we just pushed that through. And subsequently, if you really look at it today, I was just sharing with you that, last couple of years, we've been really kind of, one of the fastest growing large NGOs. We're the largest on the education, direct implementation, life skill space. Today, we are the largest on the skilling. This year, we'll have close to 3.5 lakh young people, 60% being girls, whom we'll put into jobs. And we really measure and track every single thing we do now. We build layers of technology. And as a result, what has happened is, if you look at it, our funder net promoter score is around 90+%, which means Our funders, 90% of our funders are happy to promote us or recommend us. And our own, when we talk about, our top 30 funders, we've seen that they've grown almost 50+% year on year with us, last 2 years. So which again unlocks a lot of capital. It brings in more money. It also helps you reach millions of people, and that is what we are all here for. In fact, from a scale perspective, when I came in 9 years back, we were 4 lakh on the adolescent side. This year, we'll be working with 40 lakh young adolescents. And our livelihood program, it just started 3,000 and 3.5 lakhs. So I think due diligence does get you really good results. And I think, it also builds credibility with the sector, I think it's very much required that the sector has a good connect and respect with the government and also the private sector. And if you do due diligence and you really are accountable and responsible, I think you do kind of, I think it does help you.
Does anyone have any questions for this group? Anyone? Sure, go ahead. Thank you, I was worried that look, strange to keep asking. Can someone ask? Can someone ask? Yeah.
Hi, Louis. I'm Pracheta from HSBC. I have a question for Dr. Bang. Dr. Bang, hearing you, I think I would love to know how you've seen the situation change in your home district over the years, right? If you could just talk a little bit about that, and where do you see that going in the, let's say, the next decade? So yeah, that's my question.
Just for the, is it, though this is a very local geographic question, is it relevant for this group? I was asking.
Because you've been in the sector for now, I mean, you've seen that thing change. Has CSR contributed in any way, or do you see CSR contributing?
I will take an example of maybe the role of capitalism largely. And when you ask about Gadchiroli, I am sure everybody here has at the back of their mind also the issue of what has happened to Naxalism or left-wing extremism insurgency. Yes, I have been seeing that since my childhood. One simple example, the bamboo of Gadchiroli was given to Thapar group of industries, the man who is now behind bar, for Ballarpur paper mill, at the rate of 1 paisa per bamboo for several decades. And if you ask one tribal woman, if she picks up one lakdi from a forest where she has lived or her ancestors for thousands and thousands of years, it will be a criminal case against her. For her, the agent of a paper mill, Thapar group, and the forest guard is the evil personified in the universe. Now that is one of the key contributions. On the other hand, when the Community Forest Right Act came into existence, and now people were owners of the bamboo surrounding their villages, and they started selling the bamboo in open market, capitalism again, using market linkages. People literally using PAN card for the Gram Sabha to sell the bamboo. They started getting 60 rupees per bamboo. 1 paisa per bamboo, leading to a failed paper mill and bankrupt business and being behind bar, to tribal people of Gadchiroli getting 60 rupees per bamboo. So what I have learned is that natural resource, philanthropy and capitalism and people's ownership, if they are completely delinked, then we get only and only violence. And there is a beautiful saying, Sahara, as we know, because of deforestation, is expanding. So the Africans wrote a poem. Sahara is creeping southwards and southwards. Relentlessly but slowly, Sahara is creeping southwards and southwards. Don't laugh, O fools in the north, European and the entire global north. Don't laugh, O fools in the north, the earth is round. So if Gadchiroli doesn't remain peaceful, Bombay will not. Khalil Gibran wrote beautifully, when a leaf falls off a tree, the entire tree has given silent consent to the fall of that tree. When a child dies who doesn't have vote or note, the entire society has given silent consent. So the story of Gadchiroli has been that. Ramchandra Guha, when he came to Gadchiroli, he wrote a beautiful article after spending 3 days there. He contrasted Gadchiroli with adjoining Chhattisgarh. Gandhian and Gond in Gadchiroli. Gond are the same. The geographical boundary is completely artificial. Forest is the same, Dandakaranya forest. Flora and fauna is the same, culture is the same. On this side, we saw a beautiful integration of philanthropic society of Maharashtra, all of you, the local civil society and local community all coming together with the classical Gandhian model of non-violent movement while the violent movement was going on. And that, I think, has been the journey and trajectory of how Gadchiroli has ensured development and peace after 40 years of bloodshed. So this is a partly philosophical, partly political answer to your question.
I just want to add on to it. One of the organizations I'm involved with is CORO and Aloka. You guys have been a big supporter of it. But the first, I was remembering while you were talking, Anand, the first ever donor that I met at CORO was you. And this was a long time, I think over 10 years ago or something. But you'll have been a big supporter. But there again, CORO is all about organization. It's an organization set up by people from communities which have been marginalized. And they hate capitalists. And one day, Mahindra, who runs the programming over there, said, Louis, when I was young, I thought all you people were bad. But now, interacting with you and seeing you, I realize that you all aren't bad. And that importance of dialogue, which you prompted with that question, is how has CSR helped? Actually, if we have more dialogue, we're able to get around these communities. And what you talked about, the role of, I was trying to figure out where you want to go when you're talking about capitalism and nationalism. But that dialogue and people realizing that we can actually all work together to solve problems is a great thing.
Yeah, I'm the third one from HSBC asking a question and nothing to do with my line manager chairing the CSR committee. I'm Romit. And perhaps I thought that, Louis, you said any questions for the panelists. I thought I'll ask the moderator a question. I think we are talking about CSR. I was looking at, everybody loves acronym, purpose, practice, then partner and performance. Now, in this word performance, everybody speaks of two terms, case study and success stories. Now, as somebody who's kind of, like you mentioned about the two organizations and also CORO, who takes the onus, of documenting failure stories? And how do we, have a mechanism of kind of bringing them out? Because that will perhaps bring the best and answer a lot of the unanswered questions.
You've raised a good question, a good point here. We all tend to focus on successes. It makes us all feel good. And at ISPP, we started the Case Study Center, and we started working with the Capacity Building Commission of the government. And the government said, we'd like you to write a case study on ABCDE. And they were all obviously success stories. And then we said, we're ending up being a mouthpiece for the government and about what to do. Why can't we look also at things that didn't work out? And we're working on that also now. So we're actually writing cases about things that didn't work out. And I think that's important to sort of document those stories because there are lessons learned. In my private equity world, I obviously will talk when I'm fundraising about all the great deals that we did. But we also have a whole lot of disasters that we also invested in and lost money. So it's important to learn from those. I think the second question was who's responsible for some of these problems over there. It could be a combination of a bad intervention. And I think in many cases it's because the community may not have been involved in deciding what the intervention should be. Like that lovely story which you have about sickle cell and, and just, difficult pregnancies and infertility. And therefore, if we knew what the problems being faced by the community are, the chance of developing something. So therefore, the importance of collaboration and partnership and communication is so important to, and maybe it's good to sort of talk about some interventions which didn't work well and why they didn't work well. And possibly, I'd imagine, it's a lot of time because and I've learned, by the way, not to use the word beneficiary from CORO, but the sort of the communities have been impacted or not really involved in that decision process.
Last question.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Mayur. Is it audible?
Go ahead.
My name is Mayur. I am from Muktangan Education Trust. Dr. Anand, I visited your search center in 2014, and Dr. Anil Kakodkar was visiting it. And we spoke about 34% of CSR is spent or is in Maharashtra. So I really want to understand how much of that is coming to Gadchiroli or Marathwada or other regions in Maharashtra, or is it just concentrated in pocket of Western Maharashtra?
See, I of course don't have the quantifiable number of exactly what amount goes in which district. What I've learned in a bad way is that political leadership does matter. In health, for example, Rudolf Virchow, one of the greatest doctor, pathologist, he made a statement which we try to follow. Health is politics or it is nothing at all. How? Let me take the example of bed nets for Gadchiroli. Gadchiroli district is 0.5% of Maharashtra's population, the tribal of Gadchiroli. This tribal of Gadchiroli have 75% of the total falciparum malaria of the entire state of Maharashtra. Extraordinarily, disproportionately high burden. What is the solution? One of the most important measures is to give long-lasting insecticide-treated bed net. Very simple. Bed nets which have impregnated insecticide in the fiber. That's it. And Gadchiroli district needed roughly 4 lakh bed nets, costing maybe 10-20 crore. That's it, nothing more than that. The annual provision till 2014 was 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Ridiculously low. So the malaria kept on, people kept dying, and a mosquito kept developing resistance as well. 14, we had a chief minister from Nagpur. Gadchiroli is his backyard. Suddenly the number of bed nets provided were 100,000. Now this political leadership, why also that many times philanthropists meeting the chief minister would say, we would like to do something good for Vidarbha. We would like to do something for Nagpur. Moment you have chief minister from Latur, we want to do something for Marathwada, very crucial. And if for Malabar Hill, then we would like to do something very important for Malabar Hill. I think it is our hypocrisy. So whether it is aspirational district or anything, why don't we have the direct connect or those who need? I know of a multinational bank CSR head who said me in BKC that we want to do something for a garden in front of the bridge in front of our office. We need to get out of that nonsense. So I think that would be the answer as to what goes to Vidarbha and Marathwada. We should not wait to chief ministers and powerful ministers to come from those areas of Maharashtra. Mosquito will develop resistance and all of you have falciparum malaria. That I assure you. So the onus is upon us to be aware and be empathetic.
Thank you. We've got 4 minutes.
Question मेरे तरफ से है.
No, we come because
Sir, we are running short
I'm
on
scared
time.
of Shruti. She'll eject us from this, so sorry. But you have a break so you can catch up with them. We've got 4 minutes. You've got 2 minutes each. What keeps you going? You've been in this for 9 years. Anand,
We can take the question, sir.
You come in over here and
One
got
last question.
Okay, okay. Your bosses, your boy. You've been so. Stina sir gave us a break. Okay.
जी मेरा नाम डॉक्टर मनीष राय है. मैं टेरना हॉस्पिटल से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और मैंने काफ़ी देर से CSR मेरा पहला इवेंट है. मैं इस पर पहली बार आया हूँ. क्वेश्चन मेरा बहुत सिंपल सा है बिकॉज आप लोगों ने मॉडल बात की, आपने बताया कि कैसे फंडामेंटल्स को चेक करते हैं. मेरा एक बहुत ही अलग ही टाइप का सिनेरियो है या प्रॉब्लम कह सकते हैं। हम लोगों ने कुछ दिन पहले एक हेल्थ स्क्रीनिंग कैंप अरेंज किया पालघर में, रोहा में। हम वहाँ से पेशेंट को लेके आते हैं, अपने हॉस्पिटल में ट्रीट करते हैं। हम लोग 10,000 कुछ सर्जरी कर चुके हैं, 15,000 सर्जरी करने का कैपेसिटी है। 5,000 सर्जरी हम लोग इसलिए नहीं कर पाए क्योंकि जिनको हम लेके आते हैं वो ओल्ड एज वाले हैं, वो अपने गांव में अकेले रहते हैं, चाहे वो आए हों चाहे बाबा हों। उनके बच्चे रहते हैं नालासोपाड़ा में, विरार में। वो बच्चे अपने पेरेंट्स को देखने के लिए भी नहीं आते हैं हॉस्पिटल में सर्जरी के टाइम। कुछ लोगों को इतने क्रिटिकल समय में हम लोग उनको कैरी करके ले आते हैं, बट उनके बच्चे नहीं आते हैं। अब I just wanted to ask, is there any communication model or any model which is derived by this group that they bring their daughter, their children, their kids during the treatment at a hospital, and that is freely available by the hospital, but parents are there, children are missing. That is very emotional actually for me because I come from Apollo Hospital, from different corporate hospital. First time joined this hospital and facing this dilemma. Thank you so much.
No, I think it's important to have, part of the treatment, to have some people around over here. And there are organizations like St. Jude's, etc., which try to do this. But you're right, I mean, I can't disagree that there is a need for, there's a cost attached to it. And who picks up that cost is where philanthropy can come in.
Cost we are already doing. We are doing free surgery, but sometimes you require your lovebirds or your people around.
That's right. But there's a cost attached to that also which has to be covered. So Fiona and I went to visit an organization in Memphis called St. Jude's Hospital, and their annual budget is $3 billion. And they raise, the cost of fundraising is $1 billion. It's an amazing story, and everyone is treated for free, including the family which is looked after, and teaching also for the children when they are over there. But there's a cost attached to that. Anyway, we've got time, we've got 2 minutes each. You've been, Jayant, in this business for the last 9 years. What keeps you going? Anand, why do you keep running back to Gadchiroli? Besides the free, the better air maybe, I don't know. So I'd like to hear from both of you.
Okay. So, long story short, So, see, I've been on the corporate side for almost 2.5 decades. My last stint was Motorola. But the learning over here, it's been just 9 years, has been tremendous. Every day you're learning something new. It really keeps me engaged, and I don't think, I just have so much of gratitude that, this is something that I've got into unknowingly, but absolutely tremendous learning. See, what we bring from the other side is the scale, the technology, the understanding, the processes. But how to apply it over here for, intergenerational issues and, solve these really old problems, using technology, using processes, using common sense is, I think, just amazing. So it just keeps me going. The other reason what keeps me going is that my wife, I'm sure, does not want me in her hair, and she wants me out of the house, and my kids are grown up, so they don't want me, so I have nothing else to do also.
Thank you. I know that feeling.
The practical answer is the distance between my home and my office in Gadchiroli is 70 feet, radial distance. So there can be no other place on planet Earth. But the bigger answer is 1947 August, India was partitioned. There was, as we know, bloodshed everywhere because of the violence. Mahatma Gandhi was sitting in Kolkata. He had brought peace to Kolkata. Lord Mountbatten said, my 50,000 men army is unable to keep peace at the western border. My one-man army is able to keep peace on the eastern border. One young man goes to meet Mahatma Gandhi. He has seen bloodshed everywhere. He asks, very sad, dejected. He asks the Mahatma, when faced with a dilemma, problem like this, what should I do? What path should I adopt in my life? Gandhiji says, the answer is simple. I shall give you a talisman, Jadu ka Tavij. I shall give you a talisman when faced with a dilemma as to what my next step should be. Bring the face of the most wretched, vulnerable human being you ever saw in front of your eyes and contemplate whether your next step will help that person. For me, the people of Gadchiroli are our talisman, and that's why I live there and stay there.
I would like to thank our speakers for the thought-provoking deliberations. Please stay back on the dais as I invite Ms. Aluka Majumdar to present the mementos to our speakers. Can you have a round of applause, please? Can we have a group photo? We will take a short 10-minute break. Request you all to join back for the panel discussion.